question about how to guide our children.
Yep.
And you can unmute yourself there, Takir, and speak if you'd like.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. So thank you so much, and love for everybody who is present, who can talk and who can listen. So first question is that because I have 6-year-old son, and my question was that how we can help our children and guide them to tap in more in their soul as compared to the material world. So initially, what should we do? I started with Mr. Keshe's teaching, like I give him and other kids which are with him magnets and play with them, and I told them that center of consciousness is in the middle of your chest, but still, how can I proceed? That's my question. But thank you so much, Mrs. Keshe. It was very informative answer and in detail. And I also, besides that, I also want to raise my own spirituality.
Is it a boy or a girl?
He is a boy.
He's a boy. Oh.
Yes.
With a lot of questions. Is he sportive or is he more?
Only child, he loves to watch videos, cartoons. But even then, I try to show him the spiritual kind of stuff. But definitely, he loves to watch cartoons and games.
Yeah. It would be a wonder if they would not go for games or struggle with their children. I'm still referring to Vince. We're going to keep you to your promise, darling, because you're an expert to be able to bring a different reality, virtual reality for children, to be able to understand and to work through the virtual world, creating through animation, video, and maybe even gaming platform for the children to change, to try to guide them away from where they are getting addicted to. And the best thing is that you try to guide them, but always make them to be aware. Even, I give you an example. Maybe you heard it, maybe not. Some time ago, when you go with a child into a video store and you let him to collect his games, let's say he can make a choice out of 10. You bring him to not too far away from the counter and let him display them and have a look with him to analyze what kind of games he has chosen and to give him the time to explain to you why he chose certain topics. Mm-hmm. Then you open the channel for the child to reveal why he chose the games and why it might be so important for him. But the truth comes on the table that in a way, through this interaction, you can guide the child, as I used to do with all my children, not to go for violent games. And because you have to explain them, this is like a video playing in their head, and that they might respond in a violent reaction to something which is totally harmless. But because of the alertness they learn through the video gaming, they might have a much higher alertness to something which is actually harmless, depending also where you live on this planet. Sometimes children where they need to stand up for themselves and they need to be capable of defending themselves because they can come into a situation where they can be compromised, then you have to work it out in different ways. to try to get him in combination of the gaming, also more direct him to martial arts, and maybe even try to get him in a class of martial arts, which teaches them the ethos of and the only one which truly works, I'm using one word, is the ninjutsu that I have seen, which covers all the fields of it. Because the children have to study the book, they have to study the ethos. There is so much ethos in that way of, it's very rough, but it hardens them as well, but they get the understanding of the knowledge behind it. And definitely not to harm, but to become in a position that they can be themselves and they don't need to be scared. But the interaction by the choice of the child, what kind of videos or games he's going to take, then you can open and reason with him the why and the how, and that he can make his choice to go narrower. And then you see what comes really on the table in the last, let's say, 1 or 2 video games you allow him to buy. And always try to stimulate the child to go for the most ethos one. And that's not easy for a child. But when you start when they're very young, as I did, especially with my youngest one, then suddenly you have situations like when you go to a restaurant or you go to a place where there are a lot of children and you're sitting behind their tablets, or they're gaming, they're playing. So when he passes out of curiosity and he's very extremely sociable, so the minute he spots somebody playing, he can see what he can learn, or he can share, or they can both play together. He comes back and he says, Mama, you know, this child is only 9 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old, and he's playing this and this game. But Mama, this is not for his age, is it? I said, you know. So I said, what have you responded to it? By the time he comes to give me this feedback, or he says, I already spoke to the parents, I already told them this is not a game for a child at this age. They should be start looking at the age on the game, and definitely not let them to play this kind of bloody games. So by making him aware, he makes other parents aware of something they most probably have no comprehension of. Because our age and more older parents don't pay attention what children pick up as games. So when you are a parent with especially with very young children, watch their gaming behavior. Guide them to go always for less harming, less whatever, and let them to choose to make the difference. But from the understanding point, what is the difference? If you just let them buy and you don't point out why they should have and make that choice, then they don't have that choice. But then you create children which are already, through parents and other children, they correct their behavior for as much as they could, because they try to guide them by the information they receive from you that the games are not so good for these children. And then he goes and he names all the titles they should not play. So they are very well and very wise what is in the market, what they can play and to what extent they can play, and to what age and what danger is hidden in the game, because you made them aware of it. So they can enjoy games, they can enjoy videos, but try for them to decide by the understanding what is in it, for them to make the right choice. And then they become guiders for other children and parents which maybe were not even aware of it. And then you have, of course, the parents which don't care, and you have, of course, the children which don't care. But at least your child carries the message. And if they're there to take the advice, I've seen parents really change their way of looking at the game. and realizing that their child was playing with something he shouldn't touch. So you see a kind of awakening, and this is coming through a child which is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he still is doing it. He hasn't stopped. And boys are very drawn to games. So the best way is to please limit their time of gaming and limit their time of videos. Because once they get the taste of it, they just don't, the reality doesn't exist so easy anymore. And work with the reward system. If they do their homework and they're okay with the behavior at home and it's an ethical way. They share the load of little tasks in the house and you're happy with his behavior and he's doing well, then that should be the rewarding time of what is his private time to play and to watch. Because it's much healthier to be outside and it's much healthier to stay in social interaction by talking in different games than being behind a computer. But always reason with your child. Always make them to make the choice for themselves. Because when they make that choice, they took and take the responsibility and then they can carry themselves. If you make the decision, then they can't stand for that decision. They won't be able to carry it. It's the same as Mr. Keshe says. Once you understand, you don't need to remember. It comes automatically. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's really in very detail and many practical tips and I will try to implement them. Some of them I am already implementing, but few are very informative and I'll implement them for him.
Always listen. The beauty in a chart is when you take time, they will tell you what their problem is. And if they find the confidence that you're there for you to listen, not even to react or to speak, but that they can speak their piece to you, they already are sorting the problem out by just you being listening. You don't even need to say anything. Give the child the time that it can, by allowing him, by you just being the listener, the child by speaking corrects itself because in the matter he's speaking, he's listening to himself, he corrects himself. And if there are the questions, then you can see where you can find a balance, where he can come to the understanding where the real problem is. Always go back to the root of it. Try to find where the problem originated. Then the child has a bond with you to be open and to be honest. He knows where to go and knock on the door. I created a game with my children from when they were very young. You know, sometimes you see them suffering that they don't have enough energy or something is weighing them down. I taught them the trick. You know, you take the palm of your hand and you show with your finger that they can tap 3 times in the palm of your hand. And I said, if you tick 3 times, and nobody needs to see it, it's just between you and me. I said, and then you hold my hand, then my door of my energy can open up and you can take as much as you need. And at the beginning, you know, even for a boy, it's very funny to do these kind of things, huh? But they come and they do it. They test. And then they pull their hands away after 1 or 2 minutes. I said, you had enough? Yeah, Mama, you're too warm. You give too much. And they walk off. But every time they're short, they come and tap, you know there is a problem. By you just giving, being aware without even speaking a word, you can refill or recharge his battery so fast because you're there at that moment in a giving moment and they receive. And it's pure no words, and it works. And that's how you can support a lot of children which sometimes cannot express their problem, or they cannot express exactly what's going on. But you recharge them by being the walking battery.
Mhm.
And they used it quite a lot.